get on board Robinder Sachdev, who's a foreign affairs expert and who's joining us and president of the Imagine India Institute. Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Sachdev, for joining us today. Big news coming in, a big breakthrough in the Indo-Pak tensions, a ceasefire after US mediated the talks and discussions. Quickly, what could be, what is not really known is what is on the table for negotiation. What is the fine print of the negotiation? What are you hoping? What are you expecting out of that?
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be with you. Okay, yeah, surprising. I'd always maintained that there would come a point when America would get activated. Trump had overall assumed a position like a hands-off. Remember Bangladesh, he said that, okay, India can manage that, I leave it between them. Similarly here, he was saying, okay, India, Pakistan sort it out together, I've got good friends both sides of the aisle, etc. But fundamentally, America's interests lie with India, of that there is no doubt, right? That's the big picture. The second thing is that India had very clearly communicated to the US that if this escalates and more, then we are heading for an all-out war. And if that happens, there are high chances that Pakistan's nuclear arsenal could fall into the hands of non-state actors. And that is something which America worries a lot about, right? So there was to come a point at which America would have felt necessary to get more active. Okay, how active, we could not say, but more active. But now it seems it got very active and immediately kind of pushed for a ceasefire. So it seems to me that right now the situation was so precarious, and it indeed was. Things were spiraling. So I think the Americans decided to act at this point of time before things spiral out of control. Okay, and they brought pressure down on Pakistan. And if I'm not mistaken, the call originated from the DG military operations of Pakistan to India. Of course, at the back end, America has had discussions with India, who will initiate what, etc. Each has their own positions. So that's where we see it now. What it gets trumped, by the way, other than, yes, sure, now how this plays out, they're talking about talks would be held for a longer term solution at a neutral location. Now, which could be that neutral location? I don't know. Could it be Saudi Arabia? There are dynamics playing out. And by the way, the Saudi deputy foreign minister was in India and then in Pakistan just yesterday and day before. And Saudi is emerging as a very interesting power broker in global geopolitics, right? As a locale. America is working with them for the Russia-Ukraine conflict. America is working with them on the Gaza conflict. And here also, yes, India has fantastic relations with Saudi, and so does Pakistan. So maybe it gives a bump to the crown prince also in his global profile. But stepping back, it brings Trump also some win. He's been talking about stopping wars in the world and not letting more, or America will not get into any of the wars. America itself will not start any more wars. Ukraine war is stuck, right? Trump has not succeeded there, is not succeeding there yet to bring about a ceasefire or a pause or whatever, armistice in Ukraine. Gaza is stuck. This is an early, quick win for Donald Trump to claim a good win in his foreign policy. And here, both the players, Pakistan and India is a good long-term strategic friend with America. Pakistan, sure, is a friend kind of thing, but Pakistan is a lightweight. Pakistan doesn't have any much weight. So America can press it down. So the conditions were appropriate. The only question in my mind was that when would it be estimated by the Americans that they need to get active and play a role? It seems last night and today, the last 24 hours was that.
Right. So, hi, this is Sumita here, also joining into the conversation. Just want to get your first thoughts on, what are going to be the terms of negotiating this deal, because that is going to now be negotiated or be talked on the 12th of May, which is when the DGMO of both the countries are going to get involved and they are going to speak. What, in your opinion, will be the key points of negotiation that will be on the table when they meet next, which is essentially on 12th May?
Thank you, Sumita. Honestly, I don't know what we are speculating. One is, of course, I think the ceasefire is independent of other things. Ceasefire right now means, okay, no guns firing, period, that's out. Okay. Now, in terms of discussions and negotiations for resolving the problem for the long term, that could be, a convoluted process. We cannot say how that will proceed and where all will it proceed, but there will be some pressure put on Pakistan that it has to change its behavior. One, by America especially. We are, of course, asking Pakistan to change its behavior, to learn to live and let live. Pakistan has to learn that, right? We are pressing, but Pakistan doesn't seem to understand. So Americans would put some pressure on that. And I would think Saudis also. You see, right now, Pakistan can be pressed by only 2, 3 players, America, Saudis, Emiratis. Keep aside the Chinese. Turkey doesn't have any much role. Turkey has no money. Turkey sure can give weapons to Pakistan, but it doesn't have the money and the clout, to bring anything else to the table. So that would be something on one side. On the other side, I think our one red flag or something would be in these negotiations. I think, as we said today afternoon, if there is any other terror attack, it will be then war, right? So whatever the discussions and negotiations will proceed, I doubt there would be anything to discuss about Kashmir. Absolutely no. That's done, dusted side, step aside, right? There could be other discussions, other points, some basic, a common minimum program between India and Pakistan. Pakistan will commit to something, will promise something. Let's see how much will it adhere to. So that would be, the bucket of discussions.
Right.
And the
Yes, sir.
flag at the end of it, from
Yes,
our
sir.
condition, one condition
Right.
would be that no other terror attack. If there's a terror attack, this ceasefire doesn't hold, we are going to go all out for a war. So I think in between these 3 aspects would be where we would see the future discussions panning out.
Right, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, we also have another guest joining us on the broadcast. It's Manjeet Singh Puri, former Indian ambassador. Mr. Puri, big breaking coming in so far as the ceasefire agreement between India and Pakistan is concerned. Well, Donald Trump has tweeted, of course, Indian side is also the foreign secretary, just a short while back stated as well. We're just discussing on what are the terms of negotiation that will be put forth from the Indian side, from the Pakistani side, in light of the comments that, that are being reported about the fact that any escalation will be considered as an act of war. What, in your opinion, are going to be some of the key talk points when both sides meet on 12th of May?
So, Sumita, thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm afraid I've never been here before, but I want to tell you, this was a long-expected line. Let me lighten the mood a little bit. And, it's not bad because there's actually a ceasefire now. For the last 2 days, most people like me and many others on the TV shows have been saying that because Mr. Trump was preoccupied, with the UK deal, trade deal, and with the new Pope, he didn't have time to look here. Robinder Sachdev Saab has been absolutely spot on in saying, look, he has to declare several victories by the 4th of July. On trade, they're meeting the Chinese. Believe me, they've already had a trade deal with the UK. And a person who says, on my watch, there will be no war. And you see this happening. No. They had to step in. And again, Mr. Sachdev is absolutely spot on. Look, Pakistan is, how should I put it, a bit of a client state. But, they have tremendous clout in Washington, D.C. And in various ways, one needs to understand that, they are not going to be ditched by them at all under any circumstance. We are important to the United States. We are also very, in a sense, in a situation which is a little tricky because we are also negotiating a trade deal, which we want in various ways. So, there was a need for both sides to listen in. And I have little doubt that the Saudis also played their own role. Remember, President Trump will be in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. The Saudi foreign minister was in India. I also think the Chinese winked and told the Pakistanis, please go ahead, stop. You've done enough for your domestic consumption to tell your people that you can take care of them and you can retaliate. That's enough. Now, put an end to this whole thing. Look, I think we should all understand, especially on the channel run by the Economic Times, that war is not something that anybody likes. But we had to do what we had to do because the Pakistanis, the terror outfits fomented by them, took on civilians in India and did something which is totally unacceptable and which resulted in civilian deaths from all parts of India. We had to take strong measures against them. We did that on the 7th of May night. They retaliated, as again was expected, as per their standard playbook. We also took strong measures. I also want to make a point. Their abilities to last out, the steam that they have is limited. So in a sense, they were also looking for a way out, and that was provided to them. We were also perhaps not interested. Please understand, we've always used the word, we will take action. We will give you a bloody nose if you do this. We've just sort of reported that any such terror action will be acts of war. But at the same time, let us also understand that we have much bigger, much more important things also to pursue vis-a-vis the United States, our own domestic economic growth, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, and we were very clear, our response was precise, measured, and focused. And in the first instance, really only attacked the terror outfits. Pritha.
Right, sir. Let me come to you, Mr. Sachdev. Now, the fact that, at least, the first level of agreement has been reached upon, that there has to be a ceasefire deal. India and Pakistan, both sides, will need to ensure that this ceasefire remains stable. It can be continued, unlike what's happened in case of Russia, Ukraine, for instance, or for that matter, between Israel and Hamas. Even though India's and Pakistan's conflict, it has not really escalated into a broader regional war as has happened in the Middle East. But let me ask you from, the point of the fact that, hello. So let me ask you from the point of view of the fact that, when they say that this is going to be a neutral location, would you be expecting this neutral location to be Saudi Arabia, and how significant this is going to be talks between both the sides? We have seen that there's been some level of mediation being done from the Saudi side as well. There was a tweet by the Saudi side earlier this morning from the Foreign Affairs Minister's side that, he is in touch with the Foreign Affairs Minister of Pakistan. Just want to understand on, the neutrality of this venue. And if it's going to be Saudi Arabia, and how significant that is.
Thank you. I think in my opening comments, I said that one prime candidate for this location would be Saudi Arabia. But on the other hand, you see, Saudi Arabia is getting overloaded. It's getting too much, too much play in global geopolitics, right? So, and America, though it wants to partner and keep up with the Saudis, and there's a lot of irons in the works, there could be some other candidates also. Another candidate could be the United Arab Emirates. Okay, these two. I doubt, I'm not very sure if it could be any European location. It could be also, who knows, right? But chances are that it would be Saudi or the UAE. I mean, on the one hand, India has awesome relations with most countries in the world, right? So we could be happy. I mean, if we agree, looking at the overall nuances, wherever the discussions are, but wherever, see, either the venue will be some country which has heft and weight, like a Saudi and Arab Emirate. Qatar could also be a candidate. Qatar will push itself. Right now, some of these countries or already been fixed up must be vying, because you see, it enhances the profile of that country, whichever hosts this conference. So either it would be a heavyweight country like some of these, or it could be a lightweight. Like once upon a time for Israel, Palestine, it used to be Norway. Not to say Norway is a lightweight, right? But, some such small Switzerland, let's say. Switzerland used to be the venue for many such peace discussions. So, but overall, I think my first impression would be that if discussions are happening in a neutral location, so-called neutral location, then it would be the candidates are, I would think, Saudi Arabia, Arab Emirates. And there is strategic reason for that also, more because those countries also have leverage over Pakistan, though we may say, and everyone may say they are neutral, but on the other hand, they have leverage over Pakistan. So we would probably be a little more inclined towards these countries, and it will build our own relations with West Asia even better. It will also link in with, Trump's attempt for, creating the Rivera of Gaza or whatever. Aside from that, the India-Middle East corridor. So, there could be some things, or maybe I'm reading too much. Ambassador sir maybe would be, much more, qualified and wiser to lay out his thoughts. But these are my initial thoughts as we look through.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Mr. Sachdev, let me come back to you again, and I want to get in your thoughts now on, the fact that India has stated that, it's not going to escalate. However, it will retaliate if there is any sort of aggression, any sort of, terrorist activity from its soil. Now, I think the key priority for India is going to be how to stop terrorism from Pakistani soil, given the fact that, the IMF has just given a grant to Pakistan. How do you think, or what do you think are going to be India's diplomatic options when it comes to putting more pressure on Pakistan, at least economically?
That we'll see. Economically, we could continue with boycott Pakistan. See, once upon a time, like South Africa was boycotted by the world because of apartheid. And what was South Africa? South Africa was a colonial, feudal, racist regime, which was, in a sense, conducting terrorism against its own people, right? The world absolutely boycotted them. I mean, one extent could be that. But you see, this issue of terror that we have flagged is absolutely right. But I see a little problem there. If there is any terror attack in India and we say that we will declare war on Pakistan, nuances are, what stops a Bangladesh-based some actors to create some major terror incident somewhere? See, people want India to go to war. People want Pakistan to go to war with India so that our economic progress, our development, whatever it be, gets, handicapped. Okay, so there are those elements also. There could be rogue. Of course, Pakistan itself is a rogue state, or Pakistan Army intelligence. See what's happening, what's come out actually in these past 3 days. It seems there's a fusion between the Pakistani Army intelligence and the radical extremists. When you see the pictures from the funerals and all, so fair enough, that's the army in uniform, and these guys are, free agents, but with a similar agenda. So that fusion, but still there could be other rogue elements within the jihadi groups. See, for the jihadis, their objective is to create chaos, to create bloodshed. The more bloodshed is there, the more their vision, they think, gets, accelerated. So so Pakistan may or may not be able to control. I mean, that may be another element. But the biggest little worry that I see in this is, and of course, our senior diplomats will figure out and firewall how we define, something coming from Pakistan. We'll, of course, do some due diligence. And if we see any traces, okay, then it's game on war.
Yes.
But there could be other players who could take advantage of this situation and create.
Mr. Sachdeva, a very good evening to you, sir. This is Sumit Chaturvedi. And I would like to ask you again, it's a big news coming at this moment. I would like to ask you how much of the objective with which India started this whole Operation Sindoor has been achieved according to you?
I think a reasonably large has been achieved. Not fully, we've not eliminated terror. Okay, we've not plugged it out and thrown it away. But I think what has been achieved is that a couple of things. One, we've shown not only a resolve, we've shown muscle power and we've hit. And in reality, at least that's what we think, absolutely barring Pak propaganda, etc., we have scored heavy hits and wins, though that's not the right language to be using, let's say. In this exchange over the past 3 days, we've demonstrated clearly the strength of our air defense systems. We've demonstrated clearly that we can hit deep inside Punjab, in the heart of Punjab, the power centers of Pakistan. We can hit there, okay, and they can make no difference to us. So I think we've demonstrated that we have the muscle which we can use to the end objective. Okay, so I think to a large extent, to a significant extent, we have demonstrated, or we've come out the better, if that's the word, or on top, if that's the word, of the situation. We've clearly come out ahead, let's say, because you see, we started it in a way. In answer to the Pahalgam, we said Pahalgam is an attack on us, and our doctrine now is tit for tat, right? And that's what we explained to the Americans also, to the Saudis, to the Emiratis, to the British or whosoever we were talking to, that our doctrine now is, you should assume, is tit for tat. If we've had enough, the cup is full. If we get attacked, we are going to attack. So, and we are going to attack in multiple, scale. So with Pahalgam, we went for tit for tat. So we were the ones who were attacking and on the offensive. And our offense has been seen by the world that we've struck deep inside the heart of Pakistan. Their air defense systems have failed, could not stop anything, right? Whatever Pakistan attempted towards us with its drone strategy, which is a different strategy, it's a case study what Pakistan tried with the lower cost drones. Okay, it failed. Little larger or bigger missiles, etc., it failed. So our air defense held up, and our offense went hard and very hard, and it struck all the critical, sensitive locations. We struck the air base today morning, which is the air base used for VIP transport of the President, Prime Minister, and Army Chiefs of Pakistan. Okay, maybe we didn't destroy it completely. We had a hit. That means we defeated we could get over their air defense systems. They were caught like sitting ducks. The other air base that we hit today morning is an air base where they have also their missile storage facilities. And missile storage could also mean, and be understood to mean, nuclear, for example, right? Or we don't know. So we hit that second, critical. The third airbase that we hit today is the one which houses their frontline fighter aircrafts in case of a conflict with India. And all three of these, by the way, air bases were in Punjab.
Okay. Mr. Deva, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Puri. Mr. Puri, very good evening to you once again. I'm Sumit Chaturvedi, ET Now. I would like to ask you once again, well, this overall objective has been now achieved, but the bottom line, well, a few hours ago, India said that any act of war, the doctrine is that any act of terror will be considered as act of war. But the bottom line here, India is settling beyond it. Anything will be considered as an act of war. How do you read this new doctrine of India?
Look, first, let's look back, step back a little bit. Look, after Pahalgam, there was no choice left with us. We had to retaliate, and we had to do what they say in Hindi, "Muh tod jawab." There was no question about it, because they had violated some very fundamental tenets, including the fact of attacking civilians. It so happened that they came from all over India, drawing a great deal of anger and anguish in the entire country. And they used religious symbols, etc., totally unacceptable and kind of lows. So we had to hit them, and we hit them rather well in a measured and a precise manner. Terrorist camps in POK, but we also read Punjab breaking an old red line of not crossing the IB. That certainly, I think, pinched them. They did their usual playbook, hitting our various places. And look at this: destroyed a Gurdwara in Poonch, hit some schools in the Kashmir area, etc., and went all round for 2 days with all kinds of weaponry, etc. Fortunately, we were able to block almost all of them, and also retaliate, hitting some very crucial places like the air defense in Lahore, etc. So, it's not that they don't understand, and they know exactly what our capabilities are, and we showed them. Now, there was pressure. There had to be pressure. There is no doubt about it at all. I think the Pakistanis have been able to show to their side a little bit of what they could do. What we know in terms of what we've achieved, we've also achieved. So we've achieved our objectives, which were limited, precise, exactly as was mentioned by the Foreign Secretary when he briefed people on the 8th of May, on the strikes on the 7th of May. Absolutely spot on what we did. Now, your colleagues are asking questions, what happens, etc. from here. Mr. Sachdev has explained so many of those particular elements. Let's see how this works out. It's very difficult to, guess. Remember, for anyone to think that the Pakistanis will roll back on their state policy, which is fomenting terrorism, no, I don't think so. Of course, Mr. Trump, etc., would like to play the role of big mediator, solve the problem. I'm a little wary about, what that means. But, India has long maintained that these are bilateral matters. There's no role for mediation in that sense of the term. There's no role for other people, third parties, to play. So that doesn't exclude what happens. It doesn't mean that, you can't change positions, you can't do things. Neutral venues, he's mentioned Saudi Arabia, UAE, certainly very, very likely. But let's wait and see. In the meantime, I must say, however it has happened, whatever way it has happened, the Pakistanis have been made to realize that good sense and better serving of their own interests is that they agree, no more escalations. The Indians had anyway said, we are only measured and responding exactly to what you are doing. On that, we won't compromise. And of course, we've restated what we said. We don't compromise on terror. And we've now made it clear that any acts of terror means acts of war. So better be careful about it. But let's try and see, can we build a little bit, at least in terms of the immediate, which is the ceasefire.
Quickly patch me. I have to go inside. Quickly.
Thank you. So, can we all take a break?
Okay, Mr. Puri, I would like to again ask you, coming back to the question with which we have been discussing now. Well, militarily, India has proved it is far superior and mature in a way that the way it handled the measure of response. It's a mature and a developed, quite a mature democracy, and military-wise also, it is quite above Pakistan. That has been proved over the last 3 days. We can conclusively say that, Mr. Puri.
Sumit, there's no doubt. Look at where we are a country. We're the 4th largest economy in the world. And where is Pakistan doddering and on a decline, taking an IMF bailout right in the midst of trying to prove to their population that they are strong and they're capable, etc., etc. So I think there should be no doubt in anyone's mind.
Well, Defense Ministry is having a press conference. We have to now listen to that.
Hand over the floor to Commodore Nair.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As the Foreign Secretary had said, you're aware there's an understanding that has been reached to stop all military activities at sea, on the air and on the land. And the Indian Navy, Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have been instructed to adhere to this understanding. Since the tragic events at Pahalgam, you're aware that our responses have been measured and very responsible. Details of these have been shared with you over the past few days through our various press briefings. What has also happened is that there is a significant amount of misinformation that is being undertaken from the other side. And as a professional military organization, we thought it is also our duty to dispel those misinformation aspects, as also state the facts of the case as they stand. Towards that, I will now hand over to my colleague, Colonel Qureshi.
नमस्कार। अब मैं आपको पाकिस्तान की मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन के बारे में अवगत कराऊंगी। पहला, पाकिस्तान ने यह क्लेम किया कि उसने अपने JF-17 से हमारे S-400 व ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल बेस को नुकसान पहुंचाया, जो कि बिल्कुल गलत है। दूसरा, उसका ये भी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन था कि हमारी एयरफील्ड, जो कि सिरसा, जम्मू, पठानकोट, बठिंडा, नलिया और भुज में है, ये उसका मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन भी बहुत गलत है। तीसरा, पाकिस्तान के मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन के मुताबिक हमारे एम्यूनिशन डम्प्स जो चंडीगढ़ और बियास में है, उसका डैमेज हुआ, यह भी बिल्कुल गलत है। हमने आपको मॉर्निंग ब्रीफिंग में बताया था विद फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर के साथ कि ये सारी चीज़ें बिल्कुल सही सलामत हैं। अब मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूँ कि पाकिस्तान के एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में ये बात की गई थी कि उनके सीनियर मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स, जो कि पूरी तरह से ये भ्रामक है और तथ्यों से दूर है, कि पाकिस्तान की ओर से ये झूठा आरोप भी लगाया जा रहा है कि भारतीय सेना ने मस्जिदों को नुकसान पहुंचाया। मैं इससे बिल्कुल स्पष्ट करना चाहती हूं कि इंडिया इज ए सेक्युलर नेशन और हमारी सेना भारत के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज की एक बहुत प्यारी झलक है। इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान को बहुत भारी नुकसान पहुंचाया, उनके मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स को, चाहे वो लैंड एसेट्स हो या फिर उनके एयर एसेट्स। यही नहीं, इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान की एयरफील्ड स्कर्दू, जकोबाबाद, सरगोदा और बुलारी को बहुत नुकसान पहुंचाया। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान के एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम, रडार सिस्टम, उनको भी एयर स्पेस में अनटेनेबल किया। यह भी बताना चाहती हूँ कि लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पास पाकिस्तान के कमांड एंड कंट्रोल, लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस और उनके मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मिलिट्री पर्सनल का इतना भारी नुकसान हुआ कि पाकिस्तान की ऑफेंसिव व डिफेंसिव कैपेबिलिटी को नष्ट कर दिया गया। अंत में मैं फिर से ये बात दोहराना चाहूंगी, इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस पूरी तरह से तैयार है, सतर्क है और भारत की संप्रभुता और अखंडता की रक्षा के लिए पूरी तरह से कमिटेड है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Several attempts were made by Pakistan on spreading a misinformation campaign, as we have seen for the last few days. There were attempts made to say that our S-400 at a northern base was destroyed, which was completely false, and that it was destroyed by a JF-17. It was a false information. Also, that the BrahMos installation was attacked and it was destroyed was false. The destruction of airfields at Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Bhuj, Nalia, etc. was also a false claim. The forward ammunition dump at Chandigarh and Beas are also fit and fine, and we showed you these in the photographs in the morning briefing today. Also, there was a certain different way of miscampaign that Pakistan conducted by its press conferences, which was conducted in a manner which was completely misleading and devoid of facts. Pakistan has been spreading fabricated allegations that the Indian armed forces have targeted mosques. Let us make this very clear here, that India is a secular nation and the Indian armed forces are a reflection of our constitutional values. We hold every place of worship of all faiths in the highest regard. Our operations have been aimed exclusively at terrorist camps and facilities being used for anti-India activities. No religious sites, I repeat, no religious sites have been targeted by the Indian Armed Forces. Over the past few days, as we have seen, Pakistan has suffered very heavy and unsustainable losses after it has given us an unprovoked attack on our installations. It has suffered losses in both land and air. There has been an extensive damage to the crucial Pakistani air bases like Skardu, Sargoda, Jacobabad and Bholari. In addition, a loss of AD weapon system and radars made the defense of Pakistani airspace untenable. Across the line of control, extensive and precise damage to military infrastructure and command control centers and logistic installations. In addition to that, 2 military personnel had led to complete breakdown of its defensive and offensive capability and also Pakistani morale.
In conclusion, let me reiterate that whilst we will be adhering to the understanding that has been reached today, that is the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force, we remain fully prepared and ever vigilant and committed to defending the sovereignty and integrity of the motherland. Every misadventure by Pakistan has been met with strength, and every future escalation will invite a decisive response. We remain fully operationally ready to launch whatever operations may be required in defense of the nation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. With that, we come to the closure of this press briefing. Thank you very much.